Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and today I wanted to make a video about the double legendary feature that's coming in patch 9.2 and the implications of it and how to think about it, because I think there's some thought processes that I've been seeing popping up that aren't really accurate for how this system is going to function. But that's not to say it's not going to change a lot. It will. So people are talking about this in terms of thinking about it as if the number of possibilities of possible like covenant choices has gone up, right? Of legendary choices has gone up, and that's not actually the case, right? In fact, we've actually lost one legendary choice per covenant, right? Last patch, right, 9.1.5, you could choose to play Kyrian and your Kyrian legendary, or you could choose to play Kyrian and some random other legendary, right? Say Super Strain for Death Knight, because we see Death Knight at the top here, right? Next patch, if you're playing Kyrian, you're playing both of them, right? That choice actually is one. There's one less legendary you're choosing between for each covenant once we unlock the power to get that second choice. But what has changed is every single covenant has effectively been empowered by whatever their covenant legendary was. So all Kyrian Death Knights are playing Final Sentence and another legendary. So technically fewer choices in terms of legendary combinations, right? Legendary covenant combinations. But very new choices and very new identities for a lot of the covenants themselves, because this is getting baked into those covenants. And the effect this has is actually different for different specs and different covenants. And I want to give a couple examples in this video of some of those different effects. So for instance, the Kyrian Death Knight case. Kyrian Death Knight at the start of this expansion, particularly Kyrian Blood Death Knight, this was like a single target choice, right? Shackle the Unworthy was basically you just press it. It was kind of clunky in AoE. They've made it now so it just spreads automatically. That's actually already in the live game. But when patch 9.2 comes out, Final Sentence is a purely multi-target effect, right? And I want to caveat this and the rest of this video by saying there's a good chance that they will do some balancing, some retuning to the Covenant legendaries, but assuming that these powers stay roughly similar to how they are now, Final Sentence, the way it works right now, is no value on pure single target. So what does that mean? That means Kyrian Death Knight is a Covenant that will fall behind the other choices relative to where it is now in single target. But it's gaining a powerful cleave AoE effect that, you'll be able to wear this and another legendary in an AoE situation, right? But the problem in single target is you have to wear this one, right? This one's locked in, and so you don't get to wear two single target legendaries as a Kyrian Death Knight ever. So that is one sort of identity. You'll see a similar thing with that for, say, Warlock, right? Warlock, most of this expansion, they've been playing Night Fae, but Night Fae effect, it's also pretty anemic in pure single target. It's a 5% haste and crit buff for 8 seconds, assuming you're using it on just one target, which is not that exciting. So, maybe we're going to see something like Necrolord Warlock. This is something that will likely shake up that balance, particularly for like Demonology, and make this a much more interesting single target choice, because Night Fae is getting enhanced really only in cleave and AoE in a big way, and that is definitely something to look out for. Other covenants are, they have a little bit more of like a jack of all trades type effect, right? It's like Night Fae Warrior, for instance, Nature's Fury just is a buff to Ancient Aftershock, right? Duration increase and a dot on it. So it is a little bit situational, right? Things need to stand in the Nature's Fury the whole time, but this works on single target and on AoE in a way that it's basically just the Covenant ability itself has been buffed. Now, this doesn't mean there aren't changes in the implications here for Warrior in Night Fae, right? Like this still means you might choose to invest more in Nature's Fury. You might choose to go with the cooldown reducing effect and something like that, although it's a little bit awkward for the DPS specs because that desyncs it from your damage cooldowns, but it can change the value there, but it's a lot less of a single target only type thing. Whereas, there are some effects that are much more like that, right? Where it's much more of a pure single target type thing. For instance, like all the all the rogue ones except for Necrolord, right? These are pretty single target oriented effects. So the rogue identity of Necrolord, particularly for Outlaw, as the AoE Covenant, is further enhanced a lot by this. So yeah, the TLDR here is, it is a very impactful change in that the core value of the different covenants and the how much of a specific niche they have, right, that has dramatically increased. But the choice of like legendary build we haven't moved from like 10 choices to 400 combo choices or anything like that. You just have the same choice of which covenant do you want to play and then which legendary you want to play, and there's one less choice along that legendary thing, but you have to relearn that first choice of which covenant do you want to play. And in fact, in some cases, this baking in of the covenant effects is going to be hugely important and dramatically changing what sort of decisions you might make. For instance, for Warrior, right, the fact now that you have the choice here of Venthyr with an empowered Condemn, right, Night Fae with an empowered Ancient Aftershock, Kyrian with an empowered Spear of Bastion, right, all of those will make it so that the choice of which covenant you want to use for a certain situation, these are highly situational effects that work really well in different situations from each other and with different specs. So for players that are interested and that can multi-class and take advantage of these things well, or multi-covenant, and take advantage of these things well, multi-spec, being able to play Fury, Venthyr, or Kyrian arms, right? Those sorts of swaps are going to be extremely valuable for progression raiders next tier. Although, for a lot of specs, it's not going to be that big a deal. And as always, if you in 99.9% of guilds, if you're good and if you know what you're doing and you have one covenant and you know how to play it well, that will likely continue to be more than good enough, and you shouldn't feel obligated to make this swap. But if you're a player that likes to be able to play the best thing, there is definitely a new set of thought to deploy now based off this. So anyways, hope this video helped explain how this will function and how this change is going to impact builds. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.